Hello everybody. If you look at the list of top 500 companies in 2000, the Fortune 500 list, 260 companies out of that list do not even exist today. Yes, I'm not even talking about whether they are present on Fortune or not. I'm saying that they do not even exist. Some of them went bankrupt, some of them stopped their operations, and a few are acquired by bigger companies.
It is the end of an era. Iconic American retailer Sears filing for bankruptcy, finally waving the white flag.
Google swept in to purchase the newly separated Motorola Mobility for $12.5 billion in 2012.
Huge brand names such as Compaq, Motorola, Sears, and a few others as well, they just could not handle the technology-led disruption. In this video, we are going to talk about how a giant like Microsoft struggled because of technology-led disruption, how it handled it, and how it overcame the disruptions finally. Well, we are taking Microsoft as an example in this specific scenario because Microsoft is now leading the charge in the disruption that is about to happen, the artificial intelligence disruption. Well, the AI implementation is moving forward at a rapid pace, and also we have something called as ChatGPT around the corner. So the list of Fortune 500 companies from 2020 could be very different from the list of Fortune 500 companies in 2040. You're not sure how many would even exist. And one of the primary reasons could be, again, technology-led disruption. So let's get into the story and understand what was happening with Microsoft. Before we get into the story, quick request, please go ahead, click on that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm about to bring a few more interesting stories on artificial intelligence and their impact on our careers going forward on this channel. I'm sure it will be easy to consume and also a lot of takeaways for you. So let's go back to Microsoft. Between 2005-2007, Microsoft was one of the leading giants in the technology space. Their market cap was $330 billion USD. Compare it with Apple, which was only $70 billion market cap at that point in time. However, look at the same numbers in 2013. Microsoft's market cap has actually declined to $220 billion. 35% decline. In the same time, Apple's market cap increased from $70 billion to $500 billion. Huge increase. And why did this happen? Apple had a disruptive product in its pocket, iPhone. They launched iPhone in 2007. Well, Microsoft had a steady stream of revenues coming from different products such as Microsoft Office, their operating systems, and their other SMB verticals. But they did not have any of these kind of disruptive products in its portfolio. So the investor, the market, the employees, and the broader ecosystem as well, to a lot of extent, considered that it's a falling giant. It is stagnating and potentially it's in a perpetual declining situation. Now, to overcome these situations, Microsoft of course wanted to launch their own mobile OS and also mobile handset. But what are some of the issues that not only Microsoft but other big companies face when they want to radically transform themselves? Well, iPhone is a radical transformation, no questions about that. So the problems that Microsoft was facing at that point was, number one, it had to invest huge amounts of money in R&D. Microsoft had the money, it can potentially go ahead and invest in R&D, but the question is, it's an established organization and investors, the market will keep questioning them quarter after quarter after quarter, what is the impact, what is the result? And when we are talking about these kind of disruptions, it takes a long time for these disruptions to finally realize into revenues and show up in the bottom line. So there is a lot of convincing required to be done with respect to the shareholders, board members, investors, and all the other shareholders. The second thing that we also need to know is disruption continues to move faster. However, the decision-making process is much slower, and nobody can change that. We have understood the number of shareholders, stakeholders involved in this entire process. The third problem these guys were facing was their established organization. All the teams are set, all the resources know which business units they are working with, which verticals they are working with so that they can contribute revenues. To create a new team, to assemble immediately a high-performing star team is not that easy. Now with these issues in mind, you can understand that they took their own time to launch that mobile. And by the time they launched their mobile, it was already too late.
So a couple other businesses, they think the smartphone business that Apple is now more or less perfected, at least in the United States, you were skeptical that that would be a great business. Do you think Microsoft could have gotten into that business earlier?
Yes, we could have and should have. We should have done, in my opinion, we should have gotten in the hardware business, and I blew that.
And in the sheer attempt of just because of their desperation, they went ahead and acquired Nokia. In 2013, they acquired Nokia for $7 billion. However, it was already too late. At the end of 2013, Android and Apple iOS were taking away 94% market share in the mobile segment. So this acquisition, $7 billion acquisition, was too little too late for them. So the mobile bus has already left. They just could not do anything. However, there was another disruption which was happening in the back end. That is the cloud.
So it's really our collective challenge that we now need to make Microsoft thrive in a mobile-first and a cloud-first world.
The way we store data on our hard disks, on our servers, on our real estate, that is changing to how we store data on the cloud. And Microsoft launched their product, Microsoft Azure, in 2010. When they realized that the mobile bus has left, they started doubling down on cloud. And that is the reason why in 2014, they basically shook the entire organization. New CEO, new CFO, all these guys came in, and majority of these guys were coming from their cloud verticals.
What I would say is Satya's really continued the ramp on the cloud nicely, and I give him a lot of kudos for that. And I knew when I left, it would require a whole different kind of operating methodology, culture. Sounds like he's got there or is getting there, and I salute him on that.
Yes, Satya Nadella was a sales guy, primarily coming from the cloud vertical. And if we listen to what Steve Ballmer had to say, he very clearly mentioned that it is not just about technology transformation. We had to do a cultural reset, so we had to shake up the entire leadership, and that was the right call. If you look at 2019 results of Microsoft, cloud was taking close to 1/3 of the overall revenues. That is huge. And this transformation is not just about focusing on the right technology. This transformation was also about sending the right signals to the market. And how did they send those right signals? By shaking up the entire team. Employees, investors, everybody in the market believed that Microsoft is really serious about getting into cloud. And of course, Satya Nadella also did a fantastic job with respect to narrating his story and vision for the entire organization. So now to take a step back, transitions are not just about products. Transitions are also about sending the right signals to all the stakeholders involved. Another interesting fact in this entire episode is Bill Gates, who led, of course, Microsoft for a very long time, was in conversations and was working with OpenAI and ChatGPT for at least 8 years now. And of course, you would know why Microsoft invested in OpenAI even before any other company could get in. Bill Gates. Now, there is another interesting transition that is also happening at the same time in the world right now. That is with other tech giant, Meta, Facebook. Well, clearly Meta was a traditional advertising or a digital advertising company for a very long time, relying on its social networks.
I think, since then there have been much harder decisions that we've had to make where, sometimes you have to bet on something and either bet the direction of the company or bet billions of dollars on something, and it's not going to be clear whether you're right for 5 or 10 years. And that I think actually can end up being much harder than this one.
Now, if you think about it, the CEO himself realized that, hey, these are waves and they have to keep innovating themselves, otherwise they will fall behind. And that's the reason why he invested a lot in Metaverse. Now, this stage is very similar to what Microsoft was doing between 2007 to 2013. What would be the final end result? Nobody has a clue. But the only problem that the CEO of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, is also facing is that the economy is also not doing very well. So the investor pressure is pretty high on Meta right now. I hope you understand that these technology-led disruptions are not easy to handle. Even for a giant like Microsoft, it took close to 6 to 7 years, and it had to create additional signals so that the market and the employees believe in it. Thank you so much, guys. If you do like the content, please go ahead, press on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. I'm planning to bring in more such conversations around artificial intelligence and their impact on our careers going forward on this channel. Take care, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.